In this session, we're going to be looking at this tab that says Options on it. And what I've done here is I've opened an older scan session that has images in it. They've already been interpreted in a lot of cases, but you'll get the idea of what we need to do here. On Options, we're going to start at the top. That top option is Depth Assist Settings. And so you click on that. This is the window that will open up. And then you can select the appropriate place where you want fat and muscle depth measured. If you have a protocol where you start at last rib, there's 3 different options for you. If you have a protocol where you're scanning at 10th rib and you're trying to include the tip of the trapezius muscle in that longitudinal image, you can select one there. Also, trapezius muscle location, and that just indicates where the anterior portion of the image is towards the head, is at the left or the right. That will be true for either last rib or 10th rib, which would have the trapezius in it. Last rib wouldn't, but you still want to know which direction you're going. So on this one, it was set up for last rib originally. If you wanted to set it up for 10th rib, say to go from approximately 12th to 13th rib, you could click on that and all of a sudden you'd see these measurement columns show up here. And this is where the depth would be taken. An average of this distance here will take the fat depth and also the loin depth. You can include intercostals in the loin depth, which are these muscles down here between these rib tops and these depressions between the ribs. Then the intercostal muscles, the bottom is the peritoneum. And if you want to measure from the tops of those ribs, you can unclick on that. Or if you want to go to the bottom of the intercostals, you can do that as well. On this one, our trapezius muscle, looking at the thumbnails, is on the right, so we're going to get that. And you can see that it just flips the image, and this is the area that you're going to be taking. If you wanted to move that, widen those out a little bit, this one is going to be taking it more towards the middle of the image. Same options here, so whatever your protocol is, we should be able to cover it on these longitudinal images if that is where you're using fat and muscle measurements. So you can just push OK, and that'll be it. What we're seeing here is a cross-sectional image in this first animal. And what we have done on this is these images were all collected with the automated processing used at shoot side. And so what these 2 images are here, what they represent are reference images. And as you click on the tabs here, you can switch between the image thumbnails, which for me works very well at shoot side, to be able to see that it did indeed process those images automatically correctly. These lines are going to show up as far as where it measured it at, and also we're going to see even out here where the percent IMF, intermuscular fat, is going to show up. Or if you want to see the results on a per image basis, it's right there as well. We've got loin depth, fat depth area, and IMF. When we get to these are not manually captured images. This came from a stream of images. It pulled images off of that buffer, and we are taking multiple images and processing all of those, putting it through a post-filter process, eliminating those that are outside of a specific standard deviation that are not used in the average, and then the averages are printed here. So the technician gets a shoot side feedback of whether the scan was successful and the lines look appropriate. As you're looking at this, the lines look appropriate. Looks like we're at the bottom of the intercostals, where it looks like it's identified layers of fat as well. And as we look at some of the depths that are there, we're within what we would consider to be a reasonable range as far as fats and loin depths, and it just takes an average of those. And as you go down through, we see the same thing. The first image these are done manually, the image interpretations, and then the rest of this down here is all automated, and you can see we've got pretty consistent results here. 3.12, 3.18, take an average. And these are all in inches. These are all reported in inches on this particular trait. And we had 282, 248, which is within a reasonable range for IMF as well. And it took an average of that to give you this average. Stop streaming on image capture. That way you just get the reference images showing up. These are all things that the technician can select, and whatever their comfort level is, we give them the option of doing that. We can also flip transducer tip from left to right, just reverse the image for whatever the technician is comfortable in looking at, and you can do that at any time while you're scanning. Also, we have display thumbnails in a separate window. If you've got another screen that you're a secondary screen, and you want the thumbnails rather than being under these tabs, these thumbnails can be displayed on a separate screen entirely if you want to work back and forth with that. Most of the time that's something that's done as far as interpretation, so that you can see both the results and the images at the same time. And a processing overlay viewer just gives you another look at where those images were taken. And it will tell you as far as if you were manually doing IMF, it would show where those boxes were placed. And on the cross-sectional image, it does hold on to the and remember the fat and where it was done at.